First, IDS evasion techniques. Now, when we do scanning networks, so there is a firewall which blocks the traffics, which blocks the unwanted traffic. So it can block the traffic for the other protocols which is running inside, but it is blocking it. So when we try to scan, we're not able to find what is it there. Now, there is another kind of security feature. It is called IDS. IDS is intrusion detection system. This is not a firewall, but it actually works to find the pattern in the network traffic. Whatever the traffic coming in to the internal network or even going out, it can find out the hacking patterns. It can find out the patterns of different kind of attacks. So firewall or even IDS, if you want to evade them, then what we can do? We can use these different techniques. We can use fragmented IP packets. We can use spoof IP addresses when launching attacks and sniff the responses from the server. Then we can use the source routing if possible. Source routing is normally not possible, but if even you can do that, that is good for you. Now connect to proxy servers or compromise Trojan machines to launch these all to hide yourself from the IDS. Because IDS do what? Firewall's job is to just allow or deny, but IDS job is to detect the pattern of attack. So when you do attack, when the attackers do some kind of attack, so IDS job is to it has two jobs. First, it will do drop the packets. Whatever the attack packets are coming, it will drop it. Then second, it will do what? It will log the incident. That means it will create the log event, and it will create the log event and it will record all the event what happens. And in that event, it will record your IP, attackers IP addresses and all that, that where the attack came from and what was the attack and all that. It records everything. Then it will generate the alert for administrator. So IDS job is to do what? It will drop the packets, drop the malicious packets or malicious attack traffic. Then it will log the events. Whatever the event happens, it logs the detail of that, and it also generate the alert to administrator. So we don't want to detect, we don't want to be detected. So what we can do? We can use these different evasion techniques to hide ourselves from IDS. These different techniques are like for using the fragment IP packets. So what we do actually, it is not a new scanning method, but a modification of the earlier method. So earlier method of the scanning technique we have seen, which is full open scan, half open scan is the stealth one, or we can use Xmas scan, fin scan or null scan. Or we can do what? We can use the fragment thing here. This is the same method, whatever the methods we are using to evade the firewall. So it will not be detected by the firewall. We can use Xmas, fin, null or half open stealth scan. So what we can do? We can also use IP fragments. So TCP header is split up into several packets so that the packet filters are not able to detect what the packets intended to do. So fragmentation means what? We divide a single packet into multiple small fragments of the packet. So the firewall or IDS may not detect that what is the packet actually wants to do. So if attacker sometime try to, if it is the IDS or firewall, then it will use this technique to do what? It do fragment the packet. So for example, if attacker wants to send some payload to the target machine, now IDS can detect that payload. It can detect the payload by the signature. So what attacker can do? It can fragment the packet into multiple small packets, and by fragmenting the packet, it is not the IDS or maybe the firewall will not able to detect that what is exactly this packet is going to do. Now when we try to scan the network, what we can do with the nmap command, we use this normal command, normal scanning methods which we are using. With that we'll use -f option. This F option will do what? It will fragment the packet into small packets. The other option is to do the scan. This T option is to do the intense scan or fast scan. This is time bounding, like how fast you want to do or how intense you want to do the scan. Then A is for your acknowledgement, and V for verbose, but this F is for the fragmentation. So this is that what we do the normal scan, but with that we can do what? We can use the fragment packets, so it can evade the firewall and also it can evade the IDS. So IDS basically is not able to detect the pattern because the packet is divided into segments, multiple different fragments. So with your simple nmap command, whatever you are doing, xmas scan, you are doing null fin scan, you are doing the stealth scan, half open or full open scan, we can divide the packet with the different fragments by using the -f option. So very simple, you will send whatever sync film packet, a small IP fragment plus the port number. Now if the port is closed, you will get reset and no response meant the port is open. Then attacker can do spoof the IP addresses. Spoofing, IP spoofing refers to the procedure of an attacker changing his or her IP address so that he or she appears to be someone else. Now when the victim replies to the address, it goes back to the spoofed address and not the attacker's real address. So spoofing means using someone else's IP. So suppose this attacker can use this machine's IP, victim's IP to scan the target. Now whatever the response this this target will give, it will go back to the victim machine. It will not go back to our attacker machine. And in the records of the target, it will show that this victim, this IP was scanning the network. We can do that by using the hping command with -a option with the spoof address, and also we can use with nmap command with -S option for the spoof address. That is like we did the ideal scan. In ideal scan, what we did, we use the victim's zombie's IP address. But remember, the response does not come to us. It will go to the attacker. It will go to the real machine. It will not go to the attacker machine. Then attacker has to sniff the network to get the response. Like what is the response? What is the victim sending and what was the response? So it has to sniff the packet, sniff the network to get the response properly. Because it is using other machine source IP, so the reply will go to that other machine. And you will not be able to complete the three-way handshake and open a successful TCP connection by spoofing an IP address, because a reply will always go to the machine which IP you are using. Now, how spoofing detection technique, how we can detect the spoofing? Like sending packet to host of suspect spoofed packet that triggers reply and compare TTL with the suspect packet. If the TTL in the reply is not the same as the packet being checked, it is a spoof packet. This technique is successful when attacker is in a different subnet from victim. Now how we that the traffic which is coming from us, for us, like for the target, is spoofed from someone else IP. So when the administrator on the target machine checks the logs and it checks that these requests are coming from the different IPs, and it was asking for different services. Now how you know that these IPs are from spoof addresses? For that you can use TTL value. TTL value is the time to leave value. This value decrement whenever the packet crosses one router. So when the packet crosses one router, the TTL value will decrease. So if suppose it is started from 13 and it reaches after 3 routers, then it will remain 10, because when first router will remove it, 13 plus minus 1, it becomes 12. Then second router will remove 1, that means 12 minus 1, it becomes 11. Then third router will remove 1, so 11 minus 1, it will remain 10. So as much as routers it crosses, the TTL value will decrease. Now you can detect, like suppose the attacker is sending some packet with a spoof address of this victim. Now when the packet comes first time, like sync, when the sync comes, so TTL value is 13. So we can check the TTL value. Now TTL value is 13. Now the response will go to the victim machine, like this zombie machine. So our response will go to the zombie machine. Now zombie machine will reply, and it will reply with the reset. Now with reset we can check the TTL value of that reply also. So the sync TTL value is 13, and for the reply the TTL value is 25. It is not that same. It can be different, but not more than that. Like it can be different one. We can afford to have a different of 1 or 2, because every time when packet comes, it can take a different path. So it can be a different TTL value, but not like this, different like this. Like one is 13 and other one is 25. So we can detect like this packet is spoofed. The first sync packet which comes, it was spoofed. Then this technique only works. Remember, it will only work when the victim and the attacker is in the different subnet. If they are in the same subnet, then TTL value will always be the same. It will not be different, because there is no router they are crossing, because they are in the same network. So they will not have any other TTL value. They will have a same TTL value always. So normal traffic from one host can vary TTLs depending on the traffic pattern. I said it is not compulsory that every time it is 13. It can be vary, because every time traffic comes from the different routers, or sometime it takes the different route. So maybe it will be different, like sometime it is 13, sometime it is 14, or sometime it is 12. But it will not show you difference like 13 to 25. But if your attacker and the victim is in the same subnet, then this technique will not work. So we can detect by the IP ID. This send probe host suspect spoof traffic that triggers reply and compare IP ID with the suspect traffic. So if IP IDs are not in the near value of packet being checked, suspect traffic is spoofed. This technique is successful even if the attacker is in the same subnet. So even if the attacker and victim both are in the same subnet, this IP ID is not able to, it is very rare, or suppose it is not possible that these IP IDs are same for this attacker and this victim, which IP it is spoofed. So this attacker's IP ID, suppose it is 2586, so it is very much sure that this victim IP ID may not be same. So when first packet comes, you can check the IP ID of that packet, it is this. And when the reply comes, when our machine sends the reply and then the reply comes from the victim, so we can check the IP ID. So if this sync and this reset IP ID is different, then we can say that okay, this is what is spoof address. So these are the technique we can use to detect the spoof addresses. Then one more way you can detect the spoof address by using the TCP flow control method. Attacker sending spoof TCP packets will not receive the target sync ACK packet. So when attacker send the sync flag, it will not receive the sync ACK. Sync ACK will go to the machine which is which IP the attacker is using. So attacker cannot therefore be responsive to change in the cognition's window size. So when received traffic continues after a window size is exhausted, most probably the packet are spoofed. There is a window size. Whenever the TCP traffic happens, it has a windows size. Window size, that means how much packet it will send in one go and wait for the acknowledgement. That means when it sends 2 packets, suppose it sends 2 packets, then it will wait for the acknowledgement from the other side that two packets are reached or not. These two packets are the window size. So window size are varied sometime depending on the capacity of sender and receiver. So if the sender attacker sends a packet and the response goes, the reply from the target will go to the spoofed address, so the window size may not be same. Suppose the window size is over, like these machines want to send one packet and then wait for the acknowledgement, but still you are getting the sync from the attacker. That means attacker don't know what is the window size between this victim, host and target. So it can exhaust and still sending the sync flags, sync packets. So we can detect that this IP may be spoofed, and this request which is coming from this is maybe spoofed. Now what are the IP spoofing countermeasures? So to save these, we can do limit access to configuration information on a machine. First we have to limit the access to configuration. That means every user does not have the full permission. We have to limit the accounts with the access permission. Then do not rely on IP based authentication. That means don't rely on only IP based authentication. We should use the other authentication methods also. Then use the random initial sequence number. Sequence numbers are chosen automatically in behind the scene, we don't know, but if possible then you can choose the random sequence number when you do the traffic. Then strictly filter use of ICMP. ICMP is what using the error messages. So with the error messages attacker can detect. So strictly filter the ICMP messages, error messages with your firewall. Then ingress filtering, use router filters to prevent packet from entering your network. That means what? These attackers are sending the packets from outside our network, and the IP it is using is from the inside network, but the packet is coming from the outside. So on the firewall, on here in the firewall, we will do what? We will configure the firewall to not accept the packet from outside, that packet which has the IP of our inside network. Like our inside network is 10.0.0.0. So I will not accept any packet from outside of this network. I will only allow this network to go out on internet, but I will not accept any packet to come in with this network, because this attacker is doing what? It is using the IP address of this internal network machine and sending the packet from outside. So we can save that by using this filtering on our firewall. Then we can reduce the TTLs in TCP request. We can reduce the TTL values. Then egress traffics, egress filtering also, use the filters to prevent packet from leaving your network. So we can also configure the firewall that will not allow the unwanted traffic to go out also. Mostly we only configure packets to don't come inside, unwanted packet to come inside our network. But we should also configure the firewall to block the packets going outside. Then block private or unauthorized IP addresses using the access control list. Then we create the firewall list, access control list, to block unauthorized IP addresses which we don't allow to enter in our network, in our internal network. Then encrypt all network traffic. This is very important, to encrypt the traffic, so that if attacker is sniffing the data, sniffing the traffic, it will not understand the traffic because it is encrypted. Then use multiple firewalls providing multi-layered depth of protection. Single firewall is not enough, so you can put multiple firewalls on different layers of your network, like your internal network, then your DMZ zone, then outside network. So you can put your firewall between those networks also. Then also for evading IDS and firewall, attacker can use what? Proxy servers. Now proxy is a network computer that can serve as an intermediary for connecting with other computers. So as a firewall, a proxy protects the local network from outside access. So this proxy can also work as a firewall. Now very simple, proxy means what? Proxy means very simple, in place of me, someone else. Someone else is in place of me. That means attacker wants to do attack on the target organizations, but it is not able to do directly. Then what it can do, it can send the traffic through another server, and that server will do it for itself, like it will do it for the attacker. That means for in place of attacker, this proxy server is doing the job for this attacker. So this proxy server, this server will be, it is called like proxy server for the attacker, and we can do it for any other traffic. So if you want to access the internet, you can use the proxy. If you can use this, you can use the proxy for using as a firewall also. Then as an IP address multiplexer, a proxy allows the connection of a number of computers to the internet while having only one IP addresses. That means if you are having one IP address, one access connection to the internet, but in your internal network you have many other computers to access internet, then you can also use the proxy to connect the internet from this multiple machines. So it works as a IP address multiplexer also. It specialized the proxy server can filter out unwanted content also. Then proxy server can be used to some extent to anonymize the web surfing. So basically proxy server is used to do IP multiplexing, to do the unwanted filtering, to filter out the unwanted content, to use as a proxy firewall, local firewall, and also it uses some extent of anonymizing the web surfing. That means when internal network access when the internal machine try to access the web servers don't know that who is accessing the internet, who is accessing their websites. It is accessed by the web servers on behalf of the internal network. So basically proxy is what it is used to do what IP multiplexer, and it uses as a proxy firewall. It is actually called application layer firewall. So because all the data, all the machines, internal networks machine data will go through the proxy server, so we can filter out the traffic, we can filter who can access and what can be accessed, and we can filter out the unwanted contents. And it is also used as anonymizer, and for attacker this point is important, anonymizing. So attackers use the proxies for doing itself anonymize. So why attacker use the proxy server? It uses to hide the source IP address so that an attacker can hack without any legal corollary. Like if attacker attacks the network directly, then his IP, attacker's IP will be noticed and it will be logged. So he will be in problem. So if it is using the proxy, then that proxy server's IP will be logged there and attacker's IP will not be logged. Now to mask the actual source of the attack by impersonating a fake source address of the proxy. So by doing this, using the proxy, what it do, it actually marks the actual source of attack, and it is impersonating a fake source address of the proxy. And to remote access intranets and other websites resources that are normally off limits, and it can also access those internet sites, those web resources which is not allowed in its network. Then to interrupt all the requests sent by an attacker and transmit them to the third destination. Hence victims will only be able to identify the proxy server address. And attacker chain multiple proxy servers to avoid the detection. So it uses to detect, it uses to hide itself, because when attacker directly attacks the target, it will be chances of this attacker will be caught, because the IP of the attacker, the address of the attacker will be logged here in the target machine. Now it will use what proxy to do this. Now it will send the task to proxy server, then proxy server will send the traffic to the target. Now when the target searches for the network, who is doing this doing this hack, or who has already done this, when they do the forensic job, then what, they will find the IP of this proxy server. They will not find the IP of the attacker. But remember one more thing, when you use the proxy server, in that proxy server your IP will be there. These proxy servers can also log the traffic. So when the proxy server is logging every traffic, so that target, when target doing the forensic and it reaches the proxy server and it checks the proxy server's log, then it can find your IP there and it can find that you are doing the attack. So for that, attacker use what? Proxy chain. It use a proxy chaining, and it do what? It use multiple proxies to do the attack. Not a single proxy, it uses the multiple proxies, and it can use the multiple proxies from different countries, different regions. As you can see, Mexico, Toronto, Dubai, London, Paris, Israel, London, Tokyo. So if it sends the data through different proxy servers, like it sent first to the Israel, then it sends the Paris, then it sent to London, then Toronto, then Tokyo, and then goes to the target. Now when the target is doing the forensic, then it will go to here, Tokyo, Toronto, London, Paris, Israel, then it may reach to attacker. And it is a very long job, and it is very hard to detect the attacker. So proxy chaining means what? Using the multiple proxy servers to send the traffic to the web server or the target. So user requests resources from the destination, and proxy client at the user system connects to a proxy server and passes the request to proxy server. So this user wants to connect this server, web server, and wanted to get the content. So it will send the data to these proxy servers, and these proxy servers will forward the traffic to another proxy server, to another, to another, to another, to the destination. Now the proxy server strips the user's identification information and passes the request to the next proxy server. And when it passes the next server, it removes the user's information. It actually sends information by itself, like this server itself asking for the content. Now this process is repeated by all the proxy servers in the chain, and at the end, unencrypted request is passed to the web server. So this is called chaining, proxy chaining, where attacker use multiple proxy servers to send the data to, or send the payload to the attack, to the target or web server. So how we can do that? We can use these different tools. These are different proxy tools which we can use. That is, one is proxy workbench. This workbench is a proxy server that displays data passing through it in real time and allows you to drill into a particular TCP/IP connection, view their history, save the data to file, and view the socket connection diagram also. It show you like this. Then we have one more tool. We have proxy switcher. This proxy switcher hides your IP address from the website you visit. So it hides your data, hides your information, hides your IP address from the sites which you're accessing. It will anonymize you. Then you have these Tor. Now this proxy tool Tor means the onion routing. It's a different thing. It do use for anonymity, privacy, security, encryption, proxy chain, and Tor proxy. It provides the anonymity. That means it provides anonymous communication over internet. So when you try to access the internet, you will be anonymously accessed. So on internet, nobody will able to guess your identity. It provides the privacy. Because you are anonymous, you are having the privacy. Ensures that the privacy of both sender and recipient of a message. So it secure the privacy of the sender and receiver of the message also. Then security provide multiple layers of security to a message. Then it uses the encryption, encrypt and decrypt all data packets using the public key encryption, and it uses the proxy chain. So uses cooperating proxy routers throughout the network. Then Tor proxy, the initiating onion router called a Tor client, determines the path of the transmission. Now basically what is Tor? It is basically called the onion routing. Tor. Now this uses what? It uses the online Tor routers. It is available on internet. So it uses by default online Tor routers to send and receive the data from source to destination. So when you send the data to first Tor router, it will encrypt your data first time. Remember, it will encrypt first time. Then the router will send the data to second Tor router. It will put one more security layer on that. Then the data will go to the third router. Then it will add one more security layer into that. Then when the data goes to the fourth security layer, the router, then it will add fourth security layer. So it keeps adding the security layers on that data, so that no one is able to detect the packet, no one able to open the packet. And that is why it calls onion routing, because every time when the the packet routes, it adds one more encrypted security layer. That means it uses one more layer of encryption to encrypt the data. Now finally, when they reaches the destination router opens the packet and send it to the host. We can use the different Tor tool. We can use a Tor browser to browse the internet also and be anonymous. We have these different tools to use the proxy. We have PubSuite proxy, it is web proxy. We have proxy, we have Protopod proxy, Proxy Plus, gproxy, Fiddler, Proxy Finder, and also we have mobile proxy tools. We have Shadowshocks, we have Proxy Droid, we have CyberGhost VPN, Servers Ultimate, we have Hotspot Seal, Netshed, Proxy Manager. These are the mobile tools we can use for the proxy. Now suppose we use these tools, you use Proxy Switcher or Proxy Workbench to create a chain of proxy. So you need what? Proxy servers. You need proxy servers of available proxy servers. Now where you will get the proxy servers? You can get it from internet. There are some proxy servers available to use, and there are free available. They are free proxy servers which is available on internet. So if you want to use those proxy servers, you can search on Google for those proxy servers. For example, now for that you go to Google and type free online proxy server list, and you will find some sites where you will find the proxy servers. Like for example, we will go to this site, 10 proxy servers for anonymous web surfing. This is actually online proxy site where you can access this any website from this online proxy anonymous surfing. So if suppose some site is not working, it is not accessible, then you can access it from here. But I want to have a list of proxy servers. So very great. Okay, I will go to I'll go to this site, hide me, and on this site I clicked on servers, and here you can see these different servers. Or you can find the other list of proxy servers. Like this. So to configure the proxy in those softwares, we use what this IP and the port number, and you can see the country where these proxy servers are located. Anonymous, these are transparent. Elite, anonymous, these are anonymity type. These are the up times of those servers, proxy speed, then last check, and proxy port. Last check means what? These servers are also coming and going. So if suppose you use some server right now, and after some time this server will also disappear. Now if someone wants to do the track, if someone wants to track you, then they are not able to track you because the servers are gone. So these servers will not be every time, they are not be available, they come and go, they keep changing. So we can use these proxy servers and you can check the uptime, that how much time it is up, so that you can complete your task. You can use the IP address and port number. What you need is the IP address and port number for the software. So once you know the IP address and port number you want to use and the country of those proxy servers available, then you can use this IP address and port number to that software. You can use it on proxy switcher, you can use it on proxy workbench. This is proxy switcher. I am using this. It is unregistered. It uses it is not free, so you have to use it. I am using it for 15 days trial. So it gives you 15 days trial to test it. So if you like it, then you can purchase it also. Now what it is doing here, when you first time install, it says like it is scanning for the proxy online proxy servers, and it is trying to connect these proxy different servers automatically. So it is trying to connect these servers by itself. And it will give you the list of available proxy servers, so that we can use those servers to do these different things. We can anonymize ourselves, we can browse internet, and we can browse by using this proxy switching, and we can use these proxy servers, so that if anyone wants to access, if anyone wants to track us, they are not able to track us, will be anonymous. Now testing is complete. Overall it is saying that overall everything is okay. Now you can go to your browser and set the proxy server proxy IP here. The proxy port is the 3128. This is the default proxy port. We can set it on the browser, and then whatever we serve in that browser, it will be do anonymous. Now here we can add the proxy servers here. So whatever the IP we find on internet, we can add them here. So IP address, or even if you have name, then the port number, and then the node like you can say like whatever this proxy server is from, like each proxy server, I will say like this proxy server is from this country or that country. And if it needs the username and password for authentication, then you can add it here. Otherwise you can just add the proxy server IP or name, and then the port number, those information which we find from the internet. Like these, like we can add these IP addresses and these port numbers. Let's say I will add this port number 80, and the port number is 80, and it is from France. And you can say it is added. So just like this, we can add multiple proxies, multiple proxy servers from the internet, and then we can use those proxies, and we can switch it. Right click, switch to this server, test this server, like test this server, is it working or not. It is testing this server. Then we can switch the traffic. So once you're using this server, then you can switch to other server, then you can switch to other server. So whatever you're doing, it is going to be switched to one server to other server. And it is taking a time. and it is testing here. So now when we use the browser, we will be anonymous here. So this is what proxy switcher. Like this we have proxy workbench also. Now this is proxy workbench, and what we can do here, we can redirect this different traffics using the proxy. We can redirect SMTP traffic, POP3, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP. We can configure the pass-through traffic. So we can pass through these traffics through these different proxy servers. We'll go to option. These are the options to show the interface and configure the port you want to do the proxy. So suppose I have a HTTP web proxy. So here we can configure with port 80, or we can configure with the different another proxy IP or port. I am copying that proxy IP. And it can also show you the network diagram, so connection diagram in graphically. Like when you do the connection, then it will show you the connection in graphically. So this is proxy branch and proxy workbench. Now for these we need different proxy servers, and we can add those proxy servers from the internet. We get the list and we can add those proxy servers list here. Now if we want to use the Tor browser, then we can download it from here. We can download it for Windows, OS, Linux, or for Android also. Let's say I will download it for Windows. So it is just like a browser, like your Chrome or Firefox. It is based on Firefox, but it is what it uses the Tor network. Tor network is the different network. It is not a normal routers. So our normal data goes to the normal routers, but on internet we have a Tor routers which do these encryptions of Tor traffic. Then using this Tor browser, even you can access the dark web. Dark web is not possible to access from the normal network. You can only access it from this Tor network. Now this is your Tor browser. First you have to configure it, like configure Tor is censored in my country, or I use proxy to connect to the internet. So I know Tor is not censored in my country and I'm not using any proxy. So if you are using the proxy, then you will take it here. Now it is connecting. It is connecting the Tor routers. Now if you see, it looks like a Firefox. It looks like a Firefox because it is based on Firefox, but it uses the Tor network to do the browsing. Now if you want to get anonymous or secure, you will click on here. To get ready, it says you are ready, and go for the privacy Tor network. It is showing you the information. Now adjust your Tor network setting. From here, Tor network, you can adjust your Tor network setting. And this is your browser settings, where you can go for, and you can see it is like normal Firefox, but here you have security levels. These security levels define standard, safer and safest. So standard means these all Tor browsers and website features are enabled. Now when you go for safer, disable website features that are often dangerous and causing some sites to lost functionality like this, then this goes for the more safest. Now you go to Tor, and this is Tor settings. Tor browser routes your traffic over the Tor network and run by thousands of volunteers around the world. Bridges help you. These bridges, if you use bridges, helps you access to the Tor network in place where Tor is blocked. So in places where the Tor is blocked, suppose in some countries Tor routers are blocked, so it will help you to access the Tor router, Tor network by using these Tor bridges. Then configure how Tor connects the internet. If you are having a proxy, then you can set it from here. Now here it is showing about new identity. You can create new identity also. To browse, you will close all windows and tab, all website sessions will be lost. Restart Tor browsers to change the identity. So it will reopen the browser to change the identity completely. So there are some features here to change your, now you will browser, whatever you browse here, it will be secure and anonymous. This is a complete browser here, and it do use the Tor routers to anonymously access the internet. So even you can access those sites which is blocked, which is normally you are not able to access. So we have proxy tools available for mobiles, and these are all these are not much, these are not only the tools, we have much more tools are available, which we easily call VPNs or VPN softwares. Those VPN softwares are basically the proxy tools. Now why we are using these proxies? To be anonymous, to be anonymized, and to be anonymized to access the unsecure, restricted network. So anonymizer removes all the identifying information from the user's computer while the user surfs the internet. So when we use these anonymizing tools, proxy tools, it uses it removes all the identifying information from the user's computer. Anonymizer makes activity on the internet untraceable. Anonymizer tools allow you to bypass the internet censored website. So if suppose some websites are censored in your country, then even you can access those sites. So why use anonymizers? Privacy and anonymity, protects from online attacks, access restricted contents, bypass IDS and firewall rules. So normal users uses the anonymizers to the anonymity, to maintain the privacy, to protect from online attack, and access the restricted contents attacker uses to bypass IDS and firewall rules. Censorship circumvention tools. One more is Siphon. Siphon is also a VPN, or we can say proxy tools. This Siphon is a censorship circumvention system that allows users to bypass the firewalls and access blocked sites in a countries where the internet is censored. It uses a secure encrypted HTTP tunnel connection to receive requests from Siphonite to Siphonode, which in turn transport the result back to the requested Siphonite. It acts as a web proxy for authenticated Siphonites, even works on mobile devices. It bypasses the content filtering system of countries like China, North Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other countries. So we can also say like it is VPN. Normally people call these things are VPNs. Now why it is not VPN actually, but why it is still called VPN? Okay, first, why it is what called VPN, unless it is a proxy. Now first, proxy means in place of us someone else is doing the job. So proxy will do what, like this is our proxy server, and I want to access the internet from my device. So what, my device will send the information, send the request to the proxy server, and then proxy server will go to internet for accessing my website. Now when it go to internet, it will not show my IP address, it will go by its own IP address. That means it is going on behalf of my machine to browse the internet, and whatever data it gets, it will send back to my machine. This is the normal proxy behavior. So proxy we use for multiplexing also, like suppose we have only one connection allowed for using the internet, but we have 2, 3, 4 machines which wants to use internet, but they are not allowed because they are only one IP allowed to access the internet, and we are having multiple different IP addresses of different machines, and they want to access the internet. So what we can do, we can configure the proxy server, and only this proxy server will go to internet. So when this server goes to internet, so on the internet ISP thinks like this machine is only accessing the data, only accessing the internet, but this machine is accessing behalf of these different machines. So these different machines, different IPs can also access the internet through the proxy server. This is IP address multiplexing. And when the data, when all these internal network machines data is going through only this one server, there is only one gateway to go to the internet, then we can configure filters here. So we can configure filters here, like who can access the internet and what content they can access. We can configure all those things in the proxy server. So proxy server used for IP multiplexing, also it uses to do the application level firewall. So this is what proxy. Now we can use it for anonymity also, like when you access the internet with this proxy, so whenever anyone try to see like who is accessing the internet, then they will see only this server. They cannot see your machine, your IP. So your machine will become anonymous. It will give you a layer of security that outside user don't know that what are the machines inside your network. And also it will give you anonymity. So for anonymizing also we use this proxies. And also we use this to access some restricted contents. So for example, in our country, we are here in our country, and there are some sites. There are some sites which servers are in other country. These are the sites which is in the other country, But if we try to go directly to access the site, so our country's firewall is blocking it. It is not allowing us to go directly. It is blocking the traffic. So what we can do, we can use these proxy softwares. So what these softwares do, these suppose Siphon. So Siphon is using, they are using Siphon or Tor. They are having their own servers available in different countries. Or even we can use the manual proxy servers, which we can find it by the Google. So we can use those proxy servers IP address and port number to configure the software here. So suppose I am using Siphon here. So Siphon's proxy server is located here in some other country where this site is allowed. So what we'll do with using the Siphon or other proxy tool, we will access the site, will not access the site directly. We actually send the request to this our own proxy server. Now this firewall sees that the traffic is going for this, it is not going for this site, it is going for this server, which is the proxy server. So it will allow. Now remember, if suppose they deny these proxy servers traffic also, then remember the Tor has also one more option to bypass that feature also. But suppose this is allowed, so what, our server, our machine will send the data traffic to this proxy server. Now this proxy server will browse the data, browse the internet, browse the site from this server which is allowed for this country, and then it will send the data to our machine. So we are not able to access the site directly, access the content directly, but we can access it from through this proxy server. Now why it is called VPN? Because it uses the VPN technique to secure the network from your machine to the proxy server. Suppose the firewall of this your country is denying the request, denying this server's data also. So what it has to be, now suppose the site name is like facebook.com. So when you send the request to proxy server, in that request also the data for the request is the for the accessing this site will be there. So if the firewall is good enough to open the packet and see the content, so it can see the request of Facebook. So even it can block that packet also which is going to this proxy server. So for not doing this, what these tools, these proxy servers, these VPNs use these proxy servers use VPN technology. It actually create the secure tunnel between your machine to the proxy server by using the VPN. It creates the secure tunnel by using the VPN technology, by encrypting the data. So when you send any request, your data will be encrypted and secure till it reaches the proxy server. So if the firewall is good enough to open the packet, it will not good enough to see the encrypted data. So it will not be able to block your site which you are accessing. And that is why these tools are also called VPN tools. They are not VPN tools, they are doing the proxy thing. Proxy is their main job they are doing, but they are using the VPN technology to secure the data from your machine to the proxy server. So nobody can guess that what traffic is going on. So this firewall is not able to guess that what is the traffic going between your machine and this proxy server. And that is why it is also called VPN tools. Now there are other anonymizer tools also available, that is TunnelBear, Invisible Internet, Jodo, Proxy, Siphon. Siphon is also available for mobile. Now there is one more thing, it is Whonix. Whonix is a desktop operating system designed for advanced security and privacy. This is actually a total operating system available to be anonymized. So you can see it is Whonix. It is based on Linux. So it is based on Linux. You can download it from the official site. It is free, and then you can install it in your system and you can use it anonymously. It is actually the whole operating system which is anonymized. If you want to download it, then you can download it from the official site. So this is the official site for this operating system. It is whonix.org, and you can download it from here. Download and install, run free. You can use it. Whonix is a program like most of Your application, it's a full operating system that runs inside your current one. So inside your current one, it runs like an application, but it is actually a whole operating system. You can download it for Windows, you can download it for Linux, Mac OS, Cubes, and virtual machines also. You can use Honix to install it on the USB flash, and then you can use it from there also. So whatever the version you want, you can click on it, you can download the version. You can download the graphical one, you can download the command line version also. This is graphical interface, this is command line interface. So it looks like your real it is actually works like an application, but it is actually a whole operating system. And this is completely designed for doing the anonymizing. So whatever you do in this operating system, it is going to be anonymized. You are doing the scanning thing, you are doing the different kind of other things, you are browsing internet and other things, it will be completely anonymized. Then we have these other tools for the mobile devices like Orbot, you have Siphon, OpenDoor. We can use it on our mobile devices to be anonymized. Now the next thing is to grab the banner. Banner grabbing or OS footprinting is the method to determine the operating system running on a remote target system. So there are two types of banner grabbing, active and passive. So we gather we try to grab the banner to identify the operating system running on the target machine. We want to target, we want to check what is the operating system or web server version is running on the target system. Now we have two types of banner grabbing, active and passive. Active means what? Specifically crafted packets are sent to remote OS and the response is noted. So we will send a different type of crafted packets and get the response. Remember, different response comes from the different operating system. So suppose, for example, very simple, if you ping to Windows machine, you will get the different response. If you ping to Linux machine, you will get the different response. The response are then compared with the database to determine the OS, and responses from different OSs varies due to different TCP/IP stack implementation. Passive banner grabbing means banner grabbing from error messages. Error messages provide information such as type of server, type of OS, and SSL tool used by the target remote system. Sniffing the traffic, capturing and analyzing the packet from the target enables an attacker to determine OS used by the remote system. Banner grabbing from page extension. Looking for an extension in the URL may assist in determining the application application version also. Like if you search the URL and you see the extension on the pages there, then you can even identify like .aspx, that means what? It is IIS server, and IIS server means it is Windows. So why banner grabbing? Identifying the OS used on the target host allows an attacker to figure out the vulnerabilities, the system process, and the exploit that might work on the system to further carry out the additional attacks. So when you know what kind of operating system they are using, we can design our attack based on those operating system, and we'll find the vulnerability related to those operating system, and then we can design our attack. We have different tools to do the banner grabbing, like we have IDserve. This IDserve is used to identify the make, model, and version of any website, server, software, and is also used to identify the non-HTTP, non-web internet servers such as FTP, SMTP, POP, news, etc. Then we can get the information from the Netcraft site. This Netcraft reports the site's operating system, web server, and NetBlock owner together with, if available, a geographical view of the time since last reboot for each of the computers serving the site. We can see those information also on the Netcraft. So this is Netcraft site where you have different tools. For example, you go to search DNS and you will go for the different operating domain search. and here you can see the operating system. It is showing the operating system version here. Is it Linux? Is it Windows? Is it Windows 8, Windows 2008, Windows 2016? You can go for site report to get more detail. You can get more detail about the site. What are the names of the server and what are the technology it is using. You can see Microsoft IIS, Microsoft IIS, Microsoft IIS, and version also. It is showing version also. So we can get this information from Netcraft, and we can also use this IDServe tool. So this is IDServe. Here you will put the name of the site or IP of the site, and you can query. It is very simple tool. To grab the banners. And now you can see what is it saying. It is saying it is Microsoft IIS 1.0. This is our server, and this server is what? It is Microsoft Server 2016, and it is using Microsoft IIS 10.0 version. And you can see other information here. So how did it get it? This is the server IP from port 80. It get this by using this request. So if it is Microsoft IIS, that means it is Windows, and IIS version can define like what operating system it is. And even simply you can do find by using this ping command. Like suppose when you ping someone, so different IPs, different OS response with different. Like this one I'm pinging is the Windows machine, and I think Linux machine is not there. It is 23. Now you can see the response is different. This is Linux machine, and this is what? Windows machines. So if you see the Windows machine response, if you see the Windows machines reply, the data size is 32-bit, and when you see the Linux machines reply, data size is same. Okay, now you see the TTL value is 128, and this one is showing what? 64. So by the TTL value we can guess that this is what? Different operating system, this is different operating system or different device. So same as this, other responses are also different. So we can use this different tool also, like we can use netcat or telnet command to get the information about the OS or Microsoft version. So what we can do, we can type telnet and then we can give the machine's site IP or name, and after that we use the port number 80. Remember, telnet uses port number 23. So instead of port number 23, I'll give port number 80 for the website. Now after pressing enter, you will not see anything. You will not see anything. So you will just have to type this get space /http/1.0, and when you press enter twice, it will show you this information. Same as you can do it by the netcat command also. This netcat command also will do the same thing. You have to type the same port number 80 here, and then you will type get space /http/1.0 and 2 times enter. Like so, this is suppose what I will do, I will use netcat and very verbosely, then I will use the server IP. I can use even name, and what I will use port 80 instead of 23. Now when I press enter, I'll see nothing, so I will tap get slash http. Oh, I'm late, I have to type it very quickly. What I saw here is the response. Okay, I will type it quickly. And you will see somehow, okay, I'm not that quick enough. That thing you have to type very quickly. So you will see the information about the server. You will do it by the telnet command, or also you can do it by the netcat command. Now you tell me, I will try from telnet. I'm not fast enough. I will try again. And now I can see the information. I have typed it okay. So this is what actually the get request I am trying to get, and what I get here is Microsoft IIS version 10.0, and this is IIS Windows Server. So now I know what type of server and what type of web server it is using. So this is what banner grabbing by using netcat or telnet. So you can do this by using the netcat or telnet also, but you have to type quickly. Then how to identify the target OS, system OS? So we can do it by the different tools. We can do it by the Nmap also. And just like I said, you can just only pinging the operating system can give you the information. So attacker can identify the OS running on the target machine by looking at the time to leave at TCP window size in the IP header of the first packet in a TCP session. Sniff and capture the response generated from the target machine by using the packet sniffer tools like Wireshark, and observe the TTL and TCP window size fields. So you can check by using the TCP TTL field, and also you can check by the window size. So every operating system uses a different size and different TTL values. Like I have shown you, Windows was showing 128 TTL value and Linux was showing what, 64. So mostly all the Linux shows what, 64. Now if you want to differentiate between those Linux, then you can check the window size, and that you will see when you sniff the packet with the Wireshark. So you can see the window size of different OS to guess the operating system. This is a list of TTL values the operating system uses and the window size they are using. Now banner grabbing countermeasures. What is the countermeasure to banner grabbing? We can disable the banner, or we can change the banner. We can display false banner to misguide the attacker. We can manually change the banner, and we can change it to false so that attacker will misguide. Like it is Microsoft IIS server and I will change it to Apache server. So it will feel like a attacker will think like it is Apache server, and it will try to attack as it is Apache, and it will fail. We can turn off unnecessary services on the network host to limit the information disclosed. IIS users can use these tools to disable or change banner information. For IIS, we can use these different tools to change or disable the banners. And for Apache servers, if you are using Linux Apache servers, then mode headers module should be loaded, and in the main configuration file there is an option we can add header set server, and you can change the new server name. Then alternatively change the server signature line to server signature off in HTTP configuration file of Apache. So in Apache you will change the server signature to off, so it will not show the signature of server. You will go to most secure sites, they will not display the default banner, they will always display the custom banners. And also we should hide the file extension for web pages. So file extension reveal information about the underlying server technologies then attacker can utilize to launch attack. And IS users use the tools such as page exchanger to manage the file extension. We can use that to hide file extension to mask the web technology and change application mapping such as ASP with HTML or .foo etc. to disguise the identity of the server. Apache users can use mode negotiation directories. So it is even better if the file extensions are not at all used. That is what Linux do. Basically in Linux we don't need extensions. So if it is no extension, it is even better. Now finally drawing the network diagram. Drawing the target's network diagram gives valuable information about the network and its architecture to an attacker. So network diagram shows the logical or physical part to a potential target. So drawing the network diagram will you can identify what is the internet zone, what is the DMZ zone, and what is the intranet zone. Intranet zone, that means it is the internal network where it is having all the important servers and important database servers and important information. DMZ zones are the zone which is secured by the different two firewalls, where it has all the servers available which can be accessed from internet. And internet also has internet servers and users which can anyone can access through internet. So for drawing the network, we have network discovery tools. We have lens surveyor. This lens surveyor discovers a network and produce a comprehensive network diagram that integrates OS layer 2 and 3 topology data. This features auto-generate network maps, export network maps into Visio, auto-detect changes, inventory management, network regulatory compliance, network topology database, multi-level network discoveries. Then we have network discovery tool, the DOOT. This DOOT sniffer scans all devices within the specified subnet and draws a detailed layout and map. Then we have other network discovery and mapping tools. Now most of the discovery and mapping tools are not free. As much as features you got, you will get to pay for that. So mostly they are not free, but within these tools there are some tools which is free also. Now this is what SolarWinds network topology mapper, and we can map the network topology. Now we can map it by using the SNMP credential, SNMP protocol, but I don't have SNMP protocol, so I'll go without it. Then we can use WMI credential for mapping the WMI hardware. Now we can go for virtual machines of VMware also, it will map. I don't have any, so I'll go by not giving any. Now I'm giving this network subnet, I'm scanning only this network. Then you can go for the network setting, discovery setting, what you want, how many hosts you want to do. I'll say okay. Do you want to run right now, or you want to run it somewhere sometime else? I want to run right now. Once and discover. So it will discover whatever the subnet, whatever the host we have in the subnet, and it will design. But if you are having SNMP configured and other things, then it will be very good and it will show you in very detailed information. So just like this, you are having other tools also, and I told you like most of the tools are not free, but they will give you some trial period. Like this one is giving 14 days trial period for us, so you can use it, you can try it. 2 hosts are discovered, it's still working. So this is the topology it is showing. So basically in my network I have only 2 hosts. This one is my server and this one is my Linux machine. So it shows you like this design, the subnet and all. It can show you the shortcuts, it can show you the nodes, node name, IP addresses. These are all, and it will show you detailed information when you are having SNMP and all. So if you have configured SNMP and other things, virtual machines, it will detailed design it will create. Then we have the discovery tool for the mobile devices also. Now finally, scanning pen test. So pen test a network for scanning vulnerabilities determines the network's security postures by identifying live systems, discovering open ports, associating services, and grabbing system banners to simulate a network hacking attempts. The penetration testing report will help system administrator to find out the collaborate firewall rules to create, to close unused ports, to disable unnecessary services, hide or customize banner, and troubleshoot service configurations error. For doing the pen testing for scanning, you can start with first discovering the host, perform the port scanning, perform the banner grabbing, OS footprinting, then scan for vulnerabilities. Scan the vulnerabilities based on those operating systems and services you find out. You can use these different tools to grab the vulnerabilities. Then draw the network diagram using these tools, then prepare the proxy servers to use, and then document all the findings you have found and provide this document to the authorized person. Draw diagram for the vulnerable host using tools such as these, and prepare the proxy using tools such as these, and then document all the findings. So this is what we have for scanning networks and finding the live host, live ports, operating systems, and different technologies and applications they are using.